Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Jasmin Lopez, and I am joined here by two fellow seniors. And we will be discussing early decision, and we are right now in the admissions office. So thank you for tuning in again. Like I said, my name is Jasmin Lopez. I'm an international business and management and Italian studies double major from Central New Jersey. And in admissions, I serve as a recruitment intern, but I also am around on other parts of campus as the vice president of the Italian Club and as a project manager in the Shaw Center for Race and Ethnicity. And I'm going to let these two lovely ladies introduce themselves before we get started.
I'm Dori Auslander. I come from around the Princeton area in New Jersey. I'm an educational studies major with a concentration in teaching and learning. I am involved with a lot of things on campus, but a couple of them to list would be I'm a student interviewer, and I'm the president of Kappa Delta Pi, which is the Education Honor Society, and the vice president of Don't Conceal the Heal, which is a club on campus working to decrease the stigma surrounding mental health conditions.
All right, I'm Jessie Doyle. I am from south of Boston, Massachusetts. I am a music and educational studies double major. Some things that I'm involved in campus: I am an admissions intern, so I work here in the admissions office. I'm also involved in the college choir, and I'm also involved in Greek life on campus.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing. So we're coming to you live to discuss early decision. A lot of prospective students may be joining us, and we want to talk to you about how you might make that decision, what early decision is for those of you who may not know. They both applied early decision, so they'll talk to you a little bit about how they came to that decision and how they've benefited from that being here on campus 4 years now. So first of all, I'll discuss a little bit about what early decision is. So it's one of the admissions rounds of applications that we have here at Dickinson. The deadline for our first early decision round is actually November 15th, so it's perfect timing for you to join us and ask some of your last minute questions as you're deciding whether to apply ED or not. And basically, it's a binding agreement that if you found that Dickinson is the place for you and you can't wait to join us here next fall, you are making that commitment that if you are accepted to Dickinson, you will join us here. So basically, you're deciding that Dickinson, you've found something in Dickinson that makes it your #1 top choice. So my first question for both of you is, how did you decide that you even wanted to apply early decision in general to any school, and how you figured out that Dickinson was the place where you wanted to apply early decision?
I'll start. So I didn't go into my college process knowing that I was going to apply early decision. I think it was kind of Dickinson who made that decision for me, if that makes sense. So coming here and walking onto campus, it was kind of the place when I stepped onto campus, I felt at home and I felt comfortable, and I knew that I needed to be here. So I was from then inclined to apply early decision so that I had the best opportunity to get into the school and be right where I wanted and needed to be.
Yeah, I agree, Dori. I also kind of felt like Dickinson made that decision for me. I really didn't come into the college search process thinking that I would go ED. However, it was my second tour at Dickinson, and the tour guide that I had, we just were so similar. We had so many things in common. She was from the same town as me. She was involved in the music program, which is what I wanted. And we really clicked, which made me feel like I really clicked with the college. And after that interaction, I really felt like Dickinson was also a home for me as well. So that's kind of why I decided to do ED.
That's awesome. And a lot of people are scared to apply early decision just because it is a big commitment.
Yeah.
You're applying to one school, and you know that if you get that acceptance package, then you know that you're coming to Dickinson. Was that ever scary for you? How did you get past that fear of, if I'm making this one decision for my next 4 years?
I would say it's for sure a scary thing. I think committing to anything can be a little bit of a scary situation to put yourself in, but at least for me, and I think for a lot of people applying, especially early decision one, like I said, I felt like I didn't necessarily, I couldn't do anything else. I really didn't want to go anywhere else. There was nowhere else that really kind of I needed to be. And after coming, and kind of like Jessie, I had come to Dickinson twice for 2 tours, and then I had come back a 3rd time for an interview. And shout out to Alan Painter, but we had a really long, great interview, and I felt him making me more comfortable as we went. It was more of a discussion than anything. We had the best time talking. When I walked around campus, there was a lot of people wearing Dickinson apparel, which I love school spirit, so that was huge for me, and kind of asking if I needed help, which was also I really enjoyed that they could probably see I was a prospective student and still wanted to see what I had to say. And then after, I went to North Hanover Grill with my mom, and we were kind of sitting there in the parking lot, and I started crying. And she was like, "Why are you crying? Is it because you're sad or you're scared?" And I was like, "No, I just really like it here, and I don't want to be anywhere else." But it is I guess part of me was a fear of maybe not being accepted, or just everything that comes along with going to college. But I was sitting in the car sobbing, and she was like, "Well, if you're crying about a place, you should probably apply early decision." So here I am, and that worked really well for me. I kind of just went with my gut, because I feel like that's all you can do at that point.
That's so funny, because I also went to North Hanover Grill after my visit with my family. So
there you go.
Yeah, so for me, I didn't feel scared. I really had it felt it in my gut that this was the place where I wanted to be. But I just wanted to say it's so normal to feel that way. The transition into college is obviously a really big one, but for me, I felt a lot more benefits came from applying ED than not. The main one being that Dickinson was very clearly my top choice and very clearly where I felt most comfortable. Another one was I felt like I didn't have as much pressure going through my senior year, because there's so many deadlines happening, and it was really nice to get everything under my belt at an earlier time than it could have been. So that was a really huge benefit for me as well. Took a lot of stress off of my shoulders, and it made me feel like I could prepare to come to college. So I found out I was going to Dickinson, and I could become excited for it. And I had a lot more time to do that. I had a lot more time to know what I wanted to do when I got on campus. Of course, this isn't required, but it's just something that made me feel so much more excited coming into school.
Yeah, that's awesome. So Dori mentioned that she applied early decision 1. You also did as well,
yes,
correct?
Yes.
And like I mentioned earlier, the deadline for that is November 15th. We actually have 2 early decision deadlines. The first one, like I said, is November 15th, and the second one is actually January 15th. So if you need a little more time, if you haven't had the chance to come visit campus, or you're just not ready to make that commitment yet, there's another round of early decision for you. And like they were sharing that, they had some great conversations with their interviewers or with their tour guides or someone who took them out to lunch or whatever the case may be, where that Dickinson is the place for you. You basically, that early decision commitment that you're making, you're in a pool with many other excited students who just know that this is where they want to spend the next 4 years. So not that it makes that much when weighing the different pools, it doesn't really matter as much when you apply, but when you're in an early decision pool, the people who are reading your applications, they know how excited you are to come to Dickinson, and they know that you've made that commitment. So that's something to keep in mind as well. And my next question for you guys is what kind of resources did you use? I know you talked about Alan Painter, who's one of our admissions counselors, but what kind of resources did you use during your senior year of high school as you were preparing to apply early decision or once you were accepted? Do you want to start this
Sure.
time?
So I was in contact with my admissions counselor a lot. The admissions staff here is incredible. They really want to hear from you. They want to talk to you, and they want to make a personal relationship with you. And I really felt like that through my admissions counselor, and he's the one who told me about ED and explained everything to me and made me feel a lot more comfortable about my decision for ED.
Yeah, I would say a huge part of my process was also my admissions counselor. Another shout out, Greg Moyer. Like Jasmin said, people who work in this admissions building are here to help you. They really want to talk to you. That's their whole point of their job, is really talking to prospective students. And it's something that they're really passionate about, and you could feel that through them and their energy. So there were a couple of times where Greg would come to our school and I would go to those meetings, but then also bigger kind of, because I live in the Princeton area, he would host bigger kind of meetings and socials that I would go to, and that just really helped me kind of being able to see the other people who were applying at that point, and having discussions with them, and then also being able to have one-on-one contact with him was definitely huge, for sure.
That's awesome. Yeah, I would definitely second that. Or third that, I guess. Like, I also benefited from talking to my admissions counselor a lot. When I came here, definitely doing the tour and doing that information session, even having lunch with a student, we have that option as well if you haven't been to campus and you really just want to know from a Dickinsonian what their experience has been like. You can talk to someone about that and all of the things that you can do at Dickinson if you're not sure or you still have some more pressing questions. I guess my next question for you guys would be, when you got your acceptance, like, how did you feel? How, like, what, you know, like, I know that that is also another thing that we're all waiting for. We're all waiting to get an acceptance somewhere, and for early decision applicants, like, you really want to get that decision early. So how did you feel once you received it?
Yeah, that was a very emotional day for me. So yeah, I saw in my email, it was like, decision has been made, or something of the sort. And so I had already started crying just looking for the email because I was so excited or so nervous. Got the email and saw that I was accepted and like proper cried. And my mom was like, I can't tell, this, did you get in, did you not? Like, I can't, this literally could go either way. So yeah, it was a very emotional time. It was really exciting. Again, so much stress had been lifted off my shoulders. And I just started getting even more and more excited as the days continued.
Yeah, for me, it was like an early Christmas gift. And I refused to open it in front of my family. I remember my little brother and my mom were in the kitchen and I got the email. And I went upstairs and I didn't like say anything. I just looked at my phone, saw I got the email, and went upstairs because I didn't want them to know. And then once I got in, I came running downstairs and they were like, where'd you go? And I was like, oh, I got accepted to Dickinson. And they were like, wait, what? And then that's when like the celebrations began. I remember like the first thing we did was I refused to buy any apparel from anywhere before I got accepted. So the first thing we did was went on the college bookstore and bought like a hat and a sweatshirt, whatever it was. And then, yeah, started celebrating. So it was super exciting. Obviously, yeah, a huge weight lifted off your shoulders. You get to kind of enjoy the rest of your senior year knowing that you have a home to go to for the next 4 years. And that was huge for me because I had never necessarily like left my home, and I was very nervous. I'm a homebody. I love my house and where I'm from, my family. So knowing that I was going to somewhere where it felt like home and I was just excited to get there was huge for me.
And then I guess I would just, just to make a point, if you have any questions at any point, you can definitely comment through our live session. But our next topic of discussion would be your 4 years here. We're all, the three of us are seniors. You made that decision to come, you made the decision to apply early decision, and then, like you said, Jessie, you mentioned you were excited through all those months while other people were just still waiting to hear back from one place or making their decision months later. You had that stress off your shoulders, and you said you were just getting excited about all the things you could do at Dickinson. So now if you both could like speak towards some of the most exciting things you've done while at Dickinson, or some of the highlights that that early decision may have not necessarily brought you, but some of the things that you've done here that you are now realizing that you don't regret doing ED to Dickinson.
Yeah. You want to start?
Yeah, I think I always like to start with, when talking about Dickinson, are the people, because maybe, like, I don't even think this is true, but maybe you could find like the clubs and organizations that I've been a part of at other places, but the people that you get to work with here, the professors, admissions counselors, whatever it is you do on campus, and then like the friends you meet here, like I've made lifelong friends that I would not have obviously made anywhere else, people that I am so grateful that I met, that I get to be on the same campus as even if we're not close, but I get to smile as we walk through campus because it's a small campus. Stuff like that are really meaningful things, and I think is what part of being a Dickinsonian is really like, is getting to not only get to know your peers, but get to know this secretary in the admissions office, or get to know your professors and have one-on-one time with them in office hours, or get to know the people who work in the cafeteria. Like, all sorts of people from all walks of life are on this campus, from all places of the world, from all backgrounds. And I think that is something that has changed my life, because these people, a lot of them will be in my life forever, or at least for some part I'll be grateful that I got to meet them.
Yeah, I totally agree. I've made some incredible relationships here at Dickinson that I had never done before, and I know that I'll carry with me for the rest of my life. One thing that I love about Dickinson is it really allowed me to explore what I wanted to do, what I wanted to study, and they offer so much. There's literally anything you want to do, I guarantee you it's here.
Yeah.
I came into Dickinson thinking that I would be a French major, and clearly I'm not a French major anymore. And I'm just really thankful that Dickinson gave me a space to kind of recognize that and understand that and have experiences that allowed me to make that kind of decision. And they also, I just love the idea of double major at Dickinson because it's something that's really encouraged. And a lot of students like to take advantage of that. Education is really what you make it, and it's very much your own. And everyone who I talk to here is proud of something about what they've accomplished here at Dickinson. For me, I have done a lot of research at Dickinson, and I'm a music and educational studies major. Like, you wouldn't think that I would be doing research. However, it's one of my favorite things now. And I'm so proud of that, of myself, and I really owe it to Dickinson to give me those kind of opportunities.
Yeah, and just to add on, I think that going off of that kind of research thing, that no matter what you do on campus, the liberal arts education is huge, and really, I think is a strong kind of way to lead into your future, at least in my opinion, as an education major. Even obviously I'm not going to a teaching school, but the experience that I get to have in any major is hands-on learning. So I get to still be in classrooms, and next semester I'll get to do research in the field of education and make my own research project and write a thesis on it. And that's something that a lot of undergrads can't say that they did, is have some tangible piece, even sometimes published work coming out of Dickinson. But then also be able to take classes that maybe weren't in my discipline, but I can actually relate or bring to my classroom when I become a teacher. So classes that you don't necessarily, I would take just because they sounded interesting to me, but then I would be like, oh, that professor gave me the opportunity to do a final on kind of how to relate it back to what I'm interested in, so then I could connect the two topics between education and Africana studies, for instance, or something like that, which was huge in my experience here. And also study abroad. I think that's another opportunity that Dickinson really presents to you and they want you to do. So even Jessie talked about double majors. They can, a lot of schools, if you're a double major or if you're a science major or stuff like that, you don't necessarily get that opportunity to go abroad, but Dickinson finds opportunities for you to go abroad, continue research abroad if you need to, take classes abroad that relate to your discipline if you need to. And that was a huge molding part of my experience on Dickinson at Dickinson was being able to go abroad and experience being in a different culture and living with someone who was from who was from a different place than I was really used to, and that was really, really huge and molding for my experience, for sure.
That's great. Awesome. We have a question from our people watching us. What kind of advice would you give to someone who's thinking about applying ED, or I guess what is something that you wish that you knew before applying ED, or something you would say to people now as they're making that decision to apply to Dickinson on November 15th?
One thing I would say is to make sure that you really feel it, you feel the connection with Dickinson. It's definitely something you need to think about, but once you have thought about it and you do think that Dickinson is a place for you, then I can understand why people would hesitate, but I encourage people to really take that leap into doing it, just from everything that we've talked about, I feel like.
Yeah, I would make sure that if you are able to, you have the resources to come on campus, because I think once you are on campus, you do a tour or an interview, or you go to lunch with a Triton, or you sit in on a class, which a lot of students do, and you're definitely willing to do if you're on campus. I would say do that, because when I was researching it, I think when you research like any school, you can kind of just be like, this sounds great, sounds like somewhere I would love, but it wasn't until I came onto campus and I experienced and got to see the people who were going here that I was really like, it was a gut feeling, like Jessie said, and I couldn't imagine myself anywhere else. I think that's something that I would definitely do if you have the resources.
Sure. And then another question from our viewers is, it's talking about like where you applied before making that decision to come ED. Did you apply to any other schools, or did you just know that Dickinson was the one and you were gonna just hope for the best? Or did you apply to other schools similar to Dickinson, or what was your process with that?
I would say, I did apply to other schools for sure. They were similar to Dickinson in the way that I knew I didn't want to go to a big school, so they were all smaller, private, liberal arts schools, much like Dickinson. But there was definitely a difference between the way I felt about those schools that I had applied to, and I had even gotten into some of them by the time I was applying or during the process of early decision, but I still knew that I needed to kind of make the push towards early decision for Dickinson, because that's where, and I keep saying gut feeling, but it really was. I don't know how else to describe it. It made me sob. So it really was like a full emotional kind of experience for me, at least, that I needed to not be anywhere else, I guess.
Yeah, very similar to Dori. I definitely applied to other schools that were very similar to Dickinson, small liberal arts. I applied to a lot of schools in the Northeast region because originally I felt like I wanted to be closer to home, be able to have a quick drive. Clearly that is not how things planned out, and I'm more than grateful that that's the way that things are. Dickinson is actually the only school that I toured outside of New England, and here I am.
There you are.
That I think that kind of speaks for itself. And again, like Dori, I did hear from other schools, had gotten accepted into other schools, but was really holding on to hearing from Dickinson.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then if you had to do early decision again, would you do it?
Yeah.
I feel like your answer, I hoped your answer would be yes, and I'm glad that it is. But I know I didn't apply to Dickinson ED. I actually applied early action, which is another one of our options, where you can still find out earlier. But if you're not ready to make that commitment, I'm really just bad with making decisions. But I strongly knew that I wanted to come to Dickinson, but also wanted to make sure that that I still was had my options open. But that's another option, and the deadline for that is actually December 1st. So that's not that far away either. No. But going back to what I was saying, I guess you said no, you don't regret it at all. You don't regret doing early decision or early decision in Dickinson, being more specific.
No, I don't, and I definitely feel like I'm don't want to sugarcoat the whole process. Is definitely coming to Dickinson, or probably any institution really for me. Like I said before, being a homebody and loving where I come from, it was definitely a transition for me. So there were definitely times where it was hard and it was trying, but I think going back to the people on this campus, the one thing that got me through was the people that I met. Dickinson gives you resources, crazy resources, a crazy amount of resources. Your dean, your advisor when you come here, your admissions counselor, your first year mentor, which I became one because of how amazing my first year mentor was. And all of those kind of resources on campus make the transition a lot easier. And then once you get involved, I think a big part about being a Dickinsonian is the getting involved part. So until I really did that, I was kind of finding myself being like, oh, like, what am I doing? And then once you actually kind of snap into that, like, Dickinsonian, this is what I'm here to do, is get involved, to meet new people, to get, to push my boundaries on things that maybe I didn't know I was gonna be passionate about or didn't know I was gonna really like. Whether that's classes or clubs or just talking to new people who aren't like myself, which I think is a huge part about being at Dickinson, is meeting people who are from all backgrounds and different cultures and learning from them and being able to have conversations with people who maybe don't have the same opinions as you. Those are all things that I've learned, and the people that I've met, again, that I would never change what I did, ever.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Would definitely do ED again. I really don't have any regrets, and basically, like Dori said, clearly we have had incredible experiences here and wouldn't trade those experiences for anything in the world. And like I said, the whole ED process was really a stress reliever for me, and I feel like that could definitely be a great resource for a lot of other people who may feel like they're kind of in the same shoes as me and Dori. And just like these past 4 years have been so unique. I know from my other friends who've gone to other schools, like I feel like I've gotten a lot more involved in my school, like Dori was saying, a lot more resources available to me, and meaningful relationships built not only with colleagues or peers, people going to Dickinson, but also the faculty here. It's been incredible. So yeah, just plain and simple, definitely recommend it.
And the community, I want to put that out there. Like, I was able to get involved in the community through the YMCA and also just kind of different community service opportunities that Dickinson offers. And I think Carlisle, while it's small, it still offers a lot. I mean, it's some of like the best food I've ever had. We have like a million restaurants on this one street. And once you come and see the campus, I think that really stands out as something. It's a cute little town, and it has a beautiful college in that town. And I think that's something, being in this community, I really have enjoyed it and love being here. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And some of the resources for you guys looking for more information could be, like she said, come do a campus tour, come eat lunch with a professor or a student, or come do your interview. She's a student interviewer, so you could even do an interview with a student. And so you can ask them about their experience. Come to an information session, contact your admissions counselors. They really want to hear from you. All they have, even if you're whatever round you're applying in, all they have is those applications on paper. And so if you send that quick email, or you come meet with them, or you schedule a phone call with them, or meet them at a Starbucks if they're going to be traveling in your hometown, all of those things will just add to your application and just make it that much stronger. And we can see through your application how excited and thrilled you are to come to Dickinson. Another option, if you can't make it to campus, or you already have been to campus and are just looking for some more information, would be, like I said, email your admissions counselor, or email your tour guide if you have one of our tour guide cards, or you could even email Ask a Student, which I'll repeat it again, askastudent@dickinson.edu, and someone will get back to you just answering any types of questions that you may have about like anything Dickinson related. So if you have any other questions, you can definitely put them in the comments, and someone will get back to you. But I'd like to thank you so much for joining us this evening. Like I said, just as a reminder for those of you watching, early decision deadline is November 15th. But then there's a couple other deadlines that I will mention. Our early action deadline is December 1st, and then our early decision 2 and our regular decision deadlines are January 15th. So make sure that you're keeping those on your radar, asking those questions if you still have them. Please don't hesitate at all to ask us anything at any point in time. We're here almost 24/7.
Yeah, literally.
And so if you might be here, if you email us at 11, I may still answer your email because we'll be doing some work. So thanks so much for joining us, and we hope that you enjoyed watching our live session. Have a great evening, guys.